Which coaches are on the hot seat? I feel things are heating up. There's a lot of bad teams out there. What are your top three coaches that are on the hot seat right now?
All right, we're going to start at number 3. We have the Cardinals head coach, Stephen Wilkes. I believe he is on the hot seat because now that you have David Johnson back and you still have somebody in Larry Fitzgerald who can still be a dominant receiver in this league, and you still can't seem to find a way to score more than 17 points a game, there's a problem right there. And I see David Johnson is back and he's not getting the ball as much as he used to.
I don't know why.
And I think he's afraid that he might get him hurt again. But let that be him to tell you, don't run me that much because I'm hurt. Then on the defensive side, I know you lost you lost your safety, Tyrann Mathieu, you've lost a lot of people, but you still can make your defensive line be as great as it could be. You had a great defensive line coach for a couple of years, and you had a great defensive line for the past couple of years, and they're not doing anything because you're not running any good stunts. You're not sending your blitz behind them to help. You're not even helping pressure the quarterbacks anymore. So that's why every time I play fantasy, I know when we're going against the Cardinals, that quarterback is going to start for me.
Hey, fair enough. Okay. Steve Wilkes at number 3. Who do you have at number 2?
Sean might hate me because I have Dan Quinn at number 2. Now, the reason I have Dan Quinn at number 2 is because, for one, you have this trio of wide receivers that's arguably the best trio in the NFL right now.
Wow.
And you can't get the ball to Julio, and you can't get the ball you can only get the ball to Ridley right now. Mohamed Sanu didn't score, or he didn't have 100 yards until the 4th game of the season. Then you have Julio.
Can't score touchdowns.
Since last year, he's 1 for 21 in the red zone?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. He doesn't score at all. I've been concerned about that. I agree with you when it comes to that. I don't know why.
I don't understand. People want to blame Matt Ryan, but you also got to blame the scheme and what Dan Quinn is doing to try to get them open. He, like I say with the Giants, you don't run enough stack formations. You don't have enough doubles to where people are doing crossing routes. And here's the other big problem I have. You're not getting your tight end who could be a top 5 tight end in the league because he's very underrated. Austin Hooper, yes. Very underrated. Really he could be a top 5 tight end in the league, and y'all don't find plays to get him the ball also. Then with Coleman, I think Coleman is the best running back on their team. I think Freeman is second to Coleman. And I think Coleman should get more touches than Freeman when he comes back. When Freeman came back, they had almost equal touches as soon as Freeman comes back, and now Freeman is out again.
Even with that commitment to paying Freeman that money, you just got that contract, you believe that Coleman should be the guy over Freeman?
Yes.
If that's the case, they would have to trade Freeman, I would assume.
I believe Freeman should be traded soon, honestly. Okay. I think they should keep Coleman as the number 1 running back, and I believe Coleman produces way more than him.
Yeah, Coleman did go off, especially in that Panthers game.
He did.
Had a hell of a game.
Great game.
Who is your number 1 coach on that hot seat? It's burning. The fire is up there behind. Who's the number 1 coach?
The number 1 coach on the hot seat for me is Sean Garrett of the Cowboys. That is the number 1 coach on the hot seat. And he is the number 1 coach on the hot seat because since Tony Romo's been there, they was doing fine, but when they get to the playoffs, he just becomes the worst coach I've ever seen. Then you had Tony Romo being the worst quarterback you ever seen in the playoffs, and then down the stretch you said, "Oh, Dak Prescott's better than him." You have that one season with Dak Prescott doing good. Then you have Zeke over here doing what he's supposed to do, but then other than that, you still can't win the game because you have one of the worst defenses in the leagues.
Jason Garrett, man, 6 out of the 8 seasons this guy has been the head coach, they've started 2-3. Ridiculous. I feel you on that. It's straight ridiculous. The Cowboys always in the news. That's the first thing people are going to talk about. What are their chances? I want to ask you because he's on the hot seat. They're 2-3. They got this home game against the Jaguars. What are they dropping to 2-4, or do you see them beating the Jaguars? What's going on?
With the Jaguars, they're struggling also. They lost a couple of games from having a bad defense. They don't have Leonard Fournette. I think it'll be a good game, but I think the Jaguars will pull it out with maybe a 31-21 victory, maybe a 31-17 victory, because I think Blake Bortles will have a good game against this horrible defensive backcourt that the Cowboys have. Then the Cowboys can't establish anything besides the run. when it comes to offense. They have nobody to throw the ball to. Dak Prescott has no one to throw the ball to. And in that regards, he can still make things happen, find out who to throw it to. You don't have to always have the best receivers in the league to make plays happen. Think about Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. They always make it happen with the little receivers they have. I know he's not one of them. I know he can't be one of those. But he can make moves in the pocket and make it happen himself to get players open.
Is Dak Prescott a franchise quarterback? Do you think this could be his last season? Let me quote one of my co-hosts, Sean, saying this guy is a top 10 quarterback. I laughed even before this season. I thought it was hysterical. Do you think this guy is a franchise quarterback, anywhere close to the potential to be a top 10 quarterback in this league?
Well, he hasn't been in the league that long. We think he's been here for so long, and he really hasn't. He's not a top 10 quarterback, though. He's not that. But he can be their franchise quarterback with a little bit more work. He think in the offseason he needs to find himself a good retired player to work with like Odell did. Odell used to work with Chris Carter, Bruce Irvin. He used to work with all those players in the offseason. Then you can have Dak Prescott work with like Peyton Manning or something like that. He can work with Tony Romo. Tony Romo is not as bad as we always say. I just like to mess with him a lot because I'm a Giants fan.
Yeah, and but the lack of playoff wins and success, that's what's going to hurt Dallas.
Yeah, that's the main problem right there. Dallas always has the problem. And then they're missing some linemen with injuries.
Yeah.
So Sean Garrett is just on the hot seat because for the past few years, he hasn't done much. And they keep trying to keep him because he's who he is. And that's
good relationship with Jerry Jones.
With Jerry Jones.
So it's probably a Jerry problem.
It's mainly a Jerry problem.